business on display. Yeah, 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 yeah. Oh, we gon' put your business on display. I got winners on the way. You know you can't knock the hustle. And if you gotta get in place, then we gon' put your business on display. Grab a seat, we need you for a minute. And if you got the goods, we can talk about your business. She know what it's like to make a move independently. And I don't fake, it's like that. We've been trusting God like that. Yeah, 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 yeah. Oh, we gon' put your business on display.
Well, happy Wednesday, everyone. Happy Wednesday. Nisha here with Nisha's Network. We're here again, you guys, with We Work Wednesday. If you are watching this, please hit share. We're excited about you joining us today. I'm going to dive right into our topic today, learning to love the imperfect girl within. And we are joined today with none other than Mrs. Paula Johnson, who is a wife, a mother, a widow, a mother, author and educator. And Miss Paula Johnson is joining us today, and we are going to dive into a very great topic called, by her book, The Diary of an Imperfect Girl. And I just love the color. So welcome, Paula.
Oh, thank you. Thank you for having me.
I'm so glad you're here today. I really love the book, and when you dropped it off to me, because this was a quick introduction. Paula's a member of my church. We're the same members of our church, Christian Life Center,
Yes.
CLC. And shout out to her publisher, Taisha.
Yes,
She,
yes.
November Publishing, that published her book. You can purchase Diary of an Imperfect Girl on Amazon. So I want to read a little bit about your book today. I'm just going to dive right in because this is a good topic for us to talk about. And I'm going to let you introduce yourself momentarily. But Paula was born in Memphis, Tennessee. At the age of 18, she moved to Illinois. She now resides in Madison, Illinois with her family. She was married for 16 years and has 2 daughters and a grandson. She received a bachelor's degree in liberal arts from Governor State University Park, Illinois, and she is a veteran who served in the Army Reserve. She works in special education for many years, teaching K through 22. In 2016, her and the two other women, started a 501c3 nonprofit organization called EVE, Enlightening Victorious Empowerment. She mentors girls ages 13 and 19 and currently has a partnership with the Madison Public Library. She is a very active volunteer in her church and in her community. And I am very grateful to have you here as my guest today, because I think this topic of you sharing your own personal journey is so key to helping not only parents, but teenagers and educators and everybody that has anything to do with working through being a teenager, right? So welcome. Just tell us briefly a little bit about yourself.
Well, like you said, I'm an educator, and I have I have 2 daughters and a grandson. And I'm definitely into mentor. I love mentor. It's so strange how I got into mentor. Before I wrote this book, we decided to. My mind was just on young girls because I kind of experienced in my life what I went through as an adolescent. I said, okay, God, what you leading me? You keep leading me to this book. But when I started writing it, and every day I would, do a journal, and every day I would go through the pain that I went through, but it was a healing process. But I hope that I inspires, some young girl that and parents. Hopefully, you will read my book and get something out of it.
Yes. Well, I haven't had an opportunity to read the entire book, but some of the things that I know you're passionate about is the fact that you want to make sure that young women today, teenagers in general, but young ladies today, don't have to suffer the same way you suffered growing up. And I can think, I'm just going to briefly be transparent, that I was raised in the church and I had a lot going on when I was a teenager, but I had so many emotional things that I didn't know would affect me as an adult, and they have a tendency to show up. So I want to start a little bit about your journey, because I know you cover, dating and being bullied today, and of course, what's really prevalent right now is mental illness and suicide, as you know. And so I really want you to tell us briefly about what inspired you to tell your story.
Well, as I say, I'm an educator, and I see a lot of young people, especially young girls, and where I experienced that, especially in dating, and you see how the young men treat the young girls, and it's not, good, because sometimes plan can end up being, abusive, and sometimes girls will look at it and say it's so cute, but it's not cute when a boy, hit on you, and and everything. But in my book, I shows that, you know physical abuse can be controlling.
Mm.
And when you dating, you gotta know who you dating. 'Cause I got into it, as if you read my book, it was my friends. We had a circle of friends I grew up with, awesome friends, and we were young, and they would always talk about, boys. I said, because I wasn't dating, I didn't know anything about boys. My mom didn't tell me anything about dating, anything. And so they always talk about boys. I said, okay. I would like to have a boyfriend,
Well, how old were you then?
I was four, I was 14 years old.
Okay,
Yeah,
okay.
I was young. I was a teenager, and so in my book, I explain how I ended up dating this boy for the first time, and it get kind of deep in how things happen. But it just telling me that, before, and like I said, parents always talk to your children, especially your girls and boys. Don't get me wrong, boys too, but girls, tell them that you love them, because I didn't know what love was. Love in my family was like, money. They never really expressed love. And so when I did go out there, I'm thinking this boy was, really loving me, because I didn't know. So it
And I'm
just,
gonna pause you right there, Paula,
okay.
because one of the things you did talk about early on was the love of your grandmother, and
Yes,
then the love of your mom, and
yes,
and your idea of what love was needed. And I knew my mom and dad and everybody loved me, but it doesn't really speak to, I don't know if that's generational. It doesn't speak to, what you're looking for emotionally. Like there's no emotional connection, because sometimes it's like I show you my love through providing food,
yes,
clothing, like you said, a single mom, working, went back to school. You said your mom went back to school, got her degree, and did all these things to make sure that you guys would be okay. But emotionally, so many parents are doing all these things and it's not
yes.
really connecting. So
Mhm.
yeah, I found that interesting that you would say that. Do you think that's a generational thing, or do you think that parents are still not attentive to really the emotional needs of their children?
Well, it can be both, because at the same time, nowadays you have a lot of single women who have to work. They have to provide for their kids, and so that right there, the kid might not know that the parents love them, because they have to go out and work for them. So it's so important for the parents to always talk to their kids and say, "Hey, I love you, and if you have anything that you need to tell me, because you don't want to learn out in the streets, because the streets is the wrong way." And so, parents, make sure you talk to your daughters. I said son too, but since I'm a lady, I said daughters. Talk to them when they go to school. You don't know what they doing. You hope they doing the right thing.
Yeah.
You hope. So when they come home from school, say, hey, how was school? You be able to tell me anything happen, I'll be okay. I would listen. So that's so important. Like I said, I didn't have that. We didn't have mentors. If they did, I didn't know anything about it, you
Mm.
know.
So let me ask you this, Paula. Do you think that you would have been open? Because a lot of today's teenagers and young people are not really open to hearing anything, quote unquote. The parents don't really know. You don't really know how I feel. You don't really know what you're saying or talking about. So
Yeah.
were you open at the age of 14 to if you did have someone there?
No, I was not open. That's another thing I have in my book. I was one of them quiet and shy, girls.
But you
And
put here you were a wild, what do you call
I
yourself?
call myself wildflower
A
because
wildflower child. You said you felt like a wildflower child. I
man,
wanted you to kind of expound on what is a wildflower child? What
well, well, I consider myself wildflower because I went out there and didn't know what was going on, and I was just out there, wow, and it just explaining that I just didn't know anything. I was just getting into everything and just didn't know too much about life itself. So
so so let me ask you this. So being quiet and timid, you were doing all the right things at home, but you were experimenting everything else outside of home? No, I'm just
oh
curious.
well, like I said, once everything fell apart. First, I said first to eighth grade, I was okay. I was a good girl, whatever. But when I started dating, when I did not know about boys, that when I got caught up into what love was about. I
Mhm.
remember I also say in my book when I thought I loved, my first boyfriend, whatever. I told my mom about it, and she said, "Oh, that's puppy love," but she didn't realize thought I was serious in love with this boy. And so I blame, I kind of regret, I wish I had been more open to her for her, so she can explain more about life, about, life itself.
Yeah.
And yeah, I wish I would have been more open.
Okay. So
Yeah.
I'm thinking about that because I'm thinking about I raised three daughters, and they definitely said I wasn't really open to sharing or open to the thought of, and I'm even dealing with that. I'm not dealing with it, but anymore. My daughters are grown, but stuff comes back to bite you that you weren't really there for me, and you weren't, you really were not the person I needed you to be when you thinking you did all you knew how to do.
Yes.
And so I guess I'm wondering, like, what is that key component, even with, and we'll talk about a little bit about your organization, but what is the key component now that you are mentoring these 13 and 19-year-olds that you start off with? You're not their parent, but what do you think is the key factor that draws them in?
Well, I know in our mentor group, we first of all, when they come in, we tell them that you can tell us anything. It won't go no place. It won't go no further than this, unless if it's something real
Dangerous,
serious.
right? Mm.
Yeah, mandated they're called. But we make them just like we had one young lady. She came in and she beautiful young lady, beautiful, and she thought she wasn't pretty. She said, I know, I wasn't able to look myself in the mirror. I had to cut the light off. I said, you are a beautiful young lady. Why? So what we did, we said, this what we want you to do. Every day, we want you to cut on that light and look in that mirror and say, hey, I'm beautiful. And as time go by, she can keep the light on, and say she beautiful. So it did work. So it just we trying to motivate them, and especially bullying. Bullying is so wrong because now they can get on social media, Facebook, YouTube, and talk about you, and you don't even see them, you don't even know them, and they can mess you up.
Yeah,
And it's not like you face to face, and they really can, mess with a young person, and they can talk about you, put things that are not true on there. So their social media is messed up. I
right.
know, yeah, I know when I was, I also say in my book, when I was younger and I was bullied, and I had to be by, I had two times that I was bullied in the second grade and in the sixth. Okay, the second grade, I this girl had came up to me, and I'm short, she tall and she bullied me out of my money, and I didn't even know what to do. But at the same time, I never told my parents. I never told anyone about that. And my mom would say, "Hey, what happened to your money?" I said, "Oh, I lost it, whatever." And then the second time I was bullying, I kind of stand up for myself. She used, and it's kind. I mean, she I was sitting at the desk at school, and she was poking me in my back, and she just kept poking. I just stood up and pushed her real hard, and she looked at me and said, she left me alone. But sometimes you have to go to someone if you're not able to defend yourself. Go to someone, tell your parents, tell your closer friend, whatever. Say, hey, I'm being bullied. I don't know what to do, so someone can help you. So that's why we try to motivate them and say, advocate for yourself. You
Yeah.
know, tell, if something ain't right,
Yeah.
talk to someone,
Yeah.
someone you can trust.
Yeah. I want to read a little bit from where you talked about mental illness.
Yes,
You spoke about one of your family members having mental illness, and you said mental illness is very serious. And I know that a lot of young people suffer from it. Different things that happen in life can trigger illnesses, which in turn can lead to anxiety or depression. It's
yes,
important that parents recognize the signs so that they can get proper help for their children or even themselves if they're struggling with the mental illness. And this is one of the keys that I thought about. And I'm 52, so I can speak to this because I remember this when I was younger. That you said back in those days, and I'm assuming that's back when you were a child,
yes,
you knew seeing a counselor was not good. It was something that you do not do that. You do not, you're diagnosed with anyone with mental illness, you were to keep it silent or sweep it under a rug. And
yes,
so right now, mental illness is like a megaphone in our world of our teenagers today. I almost feel like it's being injected. You have mental illness, you have mental illness, you have mental
yes,
illness. And so
yes.
I wanna just ask you, what do you recommend for those parents who probably don't have the resources to send their children to counseling, or you know their children are like in a teenager in a state of rebellion and don't really want to go? What do you recommend in terms of those triggers that set up and they begin to see, parents begin to see the signs of the struggle of depression or bullying, or you know uh all the different things that'll trigger them to be in the state of mind that they're in?
Well, I know with me in the book, I'm talking about myself. I know when I didn't go through it, but I did have a family member went through it, and I was a teenager. And being a teenager, you don't understand about mental illness. I have an uncle, who um, got over to some, LSD. Someone put something in the drink that what I was told, by my relatives. And he was very violent. And my grandmother, I got to give it to her. I say in my book, she was a strong woman because she dealt with this. Her son, 18 years old, going through always to, he was, even in middle age, she had to deal with, uh, helping him, get help. And the first thing, what I used to do, how I dealt with it, I'm just talking about my personal experience.
Okay, okay.
Okay. When the police, it had got to a point when my uncle, he was violent, and my grandmother had to call the police. And when she called the police, that's the only time he can, they would take him to the hospital and get the help that he needs. But as a teenager, I didn't understand. I was embarrassed. I didn't want to go outside because people would talk about me, So it kind of, put me in. I already had low self-esteem. I didn't want to, do anything because I didn't want to hear what people said about my uncle. So being nowadays, I think mental illness, it's just so much going on with mental illness. You're dealing with the COVID, you're dealing with, school, you're dealing with, bullying, you're dealing with all that. As a parent, you got to keep a close eye on that because if you see any signs, it's okay to go to a psychiatrist. It's okay to go to a counselor. It's okay to go if your child needs to talk to a social worker at school. It's okay. You
Yeah.
know, yeah, you don't have time to be embarrassed because this is their life.
What do you think that your mom saw that you were going through some of these things? Do you think that she saw them and just didn't know what to do because of her trying to keep things afloat and working? And do you think she noticed?
Well, uh, well, I said in the book when I was going through my adolescence, my mom was going through depression herself.
Ah,
she was going through how she was dealing with her own problems, and she was, like I said, she was a single mother, and she, I feel in my heart she wanted to marry my father, but that didn't happen, and I think it brought depression, and me being an adolescent going through what I'm going through, I didn't even know she was depression to one of my family members. I said, oh wow, I'm going through my stuff, and then she was going through her stuff, and that's why she probably couldn't really, help me because she was going through her stuff. So
Wow.
yeah,
I just
yeah,
want to pause you right there. If you're watching, we're talking with Paula Johnson. She's the author of Diary of an Imperfect Girl, where she tells her own personal journey. And Paula is here today as a mentor and as a person who God is really using her to mentor young girls so that they do not have to go through some of the very same things that she went through. And we know now more than ever, parents, sisters, friends, our teenagers need us. Our young adults need us. They need someone they can share and talk to. So I'm going to switch gears a little bit, Paula. Please go and purchase your book today on Amazon. You don't want to miss the opportunity to read this book. And I also encourage you to let your teenagers read it. Read it together. Really kind of talk about, wow. There's a scripture that says in Revelation, we overcome the devil through the blood of the Lamb and the word of our testimony. So sometimes you have to read other people's testimony so you don't have to go through the very same thing someone else went through.
yes,
And that identification lets you know you're not alone. But I want to get to the hope part. And the hope part is that you started with two other women, an organization called Eve.
yes.
Tell us what that stands for, Eve. The
It,
acronym, Eve.
okay. Enlightenment. I gotta look. Enlightenment.
Enlightenment, victorious, and
Glorious.
empowerment. Yeah.
Yes.
Enlightening. So tell us a little bit what made you all decide to launch the ministry of Eve, and why'd you call it Eve? Because I think about women in Adam and Eve.
Yeah.
So tell us a little bit about why you all named it Eve.
Well, because of, like I said, stand for enlightenment, Victoria, and
So it has
so
nothing to do with Eve in the Bible.
no, no, no.
Oh,
Yeah,
okay. But
no,
you're enlightening and you're empowering and you're telling women that they can be victorious, young ladies.
yes, yes.
That's awesome. So do you all host events and different things like that?
Well, right now we do have a program at the Madison Community. The Madison Public Library. The first and the third Saturday, we be there 11 to 1 p.m. and we do it every month. So we, encourage people who have young kids to, register and
And
yeah,
join in. What type of
yes.
activities do you all have?
Oh, we have we have our talk, our social talk. We make sure the girls, be comfortable talking to each other, and we used to do field trips, because the
But COVID,
pandemic.
right?
Yeah, we used to do field trip. We used to go this last time because of it's the end of the year. We have this. We take the young girls out to lunch, and we have lunch, and they can order anything they want to, and it just get them out there because some girls don't even go to. They might not went to a restaurant, a Chinese restaurant. We take them somewhere they never been.
Oh, culturally, you shifted up for them a little bit, huh?
Yes, yes, yes.
Well, I just am so grateful for you today, Paula, for your testimony and your story, and that you decided to put it and publish it. Diary of an Imperfect Girl, learning to love the imperfect girl within. And that's one thing that Paula is message. It is to really inspire, to enlighten, and to show young ladies that they could be victorious. And that's the part that's so amazing. And through the love of God. And I want to
Yes.
say thank you for doing such a powerful work. You guys go purchase Paula's book, Diary of an Imperfect Girl. This is her personal testimony. I mean, it had me captivated. I was just kept reading and kept reading. I'm like, wow. And sometimes I can even identify with some of the things you were dealing with in the book. So it's so important for us to do that. So last but not least, I just wanted to say, what advice would you give some of the parents for the young ladies? What advice would you give us to say, you know what, you can do this? Please share some form of inspiration.
Well, My advice to give to you is make sure you take time with your daughters, your son. I even said son, and make sure you listen to them, what they have to say. Don't get upset. What they gonna tell you, you might not like.
That's the truth. That's the
You
key
might
right
not
there,
like,
girl.
but you got to be an open mind and listen. And make sure you tell them you love them. Love is so important.
Yeah.
And make sure if they do experience, bullying, whatever, look into that. Don't say, oh, it's just somebody who's gonna stop doing it. No, look into it. Talk to someone. You got if it happening at school, talk to the teacher, talk to the principal, and find out what's going on. Because if your daughter come to you and say, "Hey, mom, I'm being bullied," hey, look into it. Don't wait. So I encourage the parents to, like I said, listen and love your child and make sure you explain the life to them.
Yeah.
It's so important to explain life, dating, especially dating. When you meet a boy, you want to know everything about them.
Yes.
You don't want to step in step into a relationship, don't know anything about it. Nobody else don't know about it. He turned out to be a, stranger. I don't want to go that way, but
Yes.
oh
Yes.
yeah.
Well, thank you so much for today. And I'm looking forward to sharing the ministry of Eve. You guys, you can find Paula on Facebook and their ministry and their website, which is so powerful, will give you more information on how to participate with Eve and join in. And it's in Chicago now, but I know that things can be done virtually these days. If you
Yeah.
need mentorship, they're providing mentorship, they're providing support systems and
Yes.
information that will encourage your little girls. And I think even though I'm not a little girl, but it really kind of is challenging you to remind yourself of your own journey to help you to pour back into your children and
Yes.
even others' children, even if you're not a biological mom, right?
Yes. Yes.
Well,
Hmm.
thank you so much for today. This has been so good conversating with you. I think I've been really, really blessed by hearing your story. Can't wait to read the rest of your book. Go out, you guys, go purchase The Diary of an Imperfect Girl today on Amazon and really begin to hone in on some insight on what you can do by sharing your story and the victory that you have in it. And even the blessing that Paula has been through publishing her own story. Thank you so much for today, Paula.
Oh, thank you for having me. Awesome. And
I'm so
yes,
excited you're here
awesome.
today.
Thank you. Thank
All
you.
right, hold on a minute, Paula. You guys, I want you to make sure you're back here next week. And I definitely want to remind you that we have an event coming up. It is 7 Secrets to Grow Your First $1 Million Business, February 15th. It is a virtual free live webinar. You don't want to miss it. 7 Secrets to Grow Your First $1 Million Business, February 15th, 6:30 to 7. You guys want to join up. I have watched Experienced Leadership. That's my brother there. I have watched him he has been such a blessing. He's went ahead and gone ahead and taken businesses that went from like 6 figures up until the $1 million and multi-millions. So I'm very excited about this. So you guys, I'm joining forces with him because guess what? I'm about to be a millionaire too. Okay. All right. Until next time, you guys, we will talk to you soon. Have an amazing Wednesday. And Nisha's Network is signing off with We Work Wednesdays today. God bless.
Bye.
Yeah, 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 yeah. Oh, we gon' put your business on display.